All right. Okay, guys. CGA President John Robinson here. I'm here with CGA Executive Team Member Tony Beck. We've got a special guest here today, which is pretty awesome. He doesn't need any introduction, but we're going to give him one anyway. It's three-time Olympian, five-time U.S. national champion, six-time NCAA national champion, 12-time NCAA All-American, Nissen Emery Award winner, one-time NCAA team title, and the most decorated gymnast in Ohio State gymnastics history. This is Blaine Wilson. Blaine, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. Blaine, we're going to do this into two parts here. The first part, we're going to highlight your career and your personal experiences in the NCAA space. Then we're going to break off and have some people provide some context around your career to fill in the gaps a little bit and paint a full picture. But the goal here is to get a good story and capture it for the audience to see what your experience was like in the NCAA system and your career as a whole. But we're going to have Tony kick things off and then we'll roll through it. Sound good?
Cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
Tony Beck.
Awesome. Yep. Thanks, Blaine, and John for joining us. Blaine, you had a really successful career in the NCAA. From people I've talked to, you weren't the top recruit of the class, it sounds like. But with all the stats John mentioned, what did it take for you to reach that level in your career, and what did that experience mean to you?
Basically, it was just hard work. I mean, and a coach to believe in you. It's funny how you say I wasn't recruited. I wasn't highly recruited. Drew Durbin was highly recruited out of CGA. And ironically, Fred Roethlisberger told Pete Corman that I would cost him more national championships than we would win. So there you go. But no, I mean, it was just people to believe in you and good teammates, man. I think that's the one thing that people don't understand. I was around, obviously Olympic Games, World Championships, but all in all, my college experience was the best experience by far, as far as any, Olympic experience goes. You train with those guys 365, and you're brothers basically. So, and I still talk to quite a bit of them as it is, and NCAAs are at Ohio State, so I'm going to see a lot of alumni.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, John, I don't know if you know, Blaine actually coached me at U.S. Championships in 2007. After my first U.S. Championships, and I had some good events and bad events. First thing he said to me after the meet was, when you get to college, you're going to learn how to compete, and you're going to be able to build that. And that's what, it sounds like his experience was, for sure.
Yeah. So on that note, how did it prepare you for, the international stage?
It's funny. Without college, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere. You learn how to compete, and I don't want to say this in a like putting down today's athletes, but we had more meets back then than these guys do now. They do harder gymnastics, but we had more meets. We probably had, I don't know, 12, 14 meets, and then that doesn't include, you had your Big Tens, then we had regionals at the time, and then you had NCAA finals. So we had quite a few. I mean, I could be 15, 16 meets in a year, and that has nothing to do with anything outside of a college. So it taught you, hey, to be ready. And you know what? You don't need to warm up that much unless you want to be real sore. Pete Corman, Pete and Miles, good people. But Pete, one day I was sick and I was like, dude, I don't think I can do this. He said, hey, a sick dog fights harder. And that was it. And I was competing regardless. So, it is what it is. But with good coaches and, good teammates, man, you just learn how to compete. It didn't matter. Didn't matter whatsoever.
That's awesome. Hey, you've kind of stuck with the sport afterwards too. You own a gym, you operate it there, and how did that impact and shape you into what you do professionally now too?
It's huge. The first time I ever really coached, I coached at IGC, International Gymnastics Camp in Pennsylvania. Ironically, that's where I ran into Mr. Beck. But the first time I coached there, I was 18, 19. We were there for a world team camp. And, I got the opportunity to coach kids there. And it was like, you know what? When I'm done, this is what I want to do. you know, because they constantly asking questions. How'd you get here? What are you doing there? And you know, there's something to be said about being able to coach athletes. Now, yeah, I don't want to coach higher level athletes. I'm good with where I'm at. You know, trying to get girls to college. But I don't want anything to do with that part of the elite world. And you know, I'm good with that. I'm so good with that. So
Yeah, and it's a family affair, isn't it?
yeah, my dad's there. My mom used to do the books. She doesn't do it so much anymore. My niece is there. My other niece is going to be working there. My sister's working there. So yeah, everybody's there. My wife was there for a little bit. Now she's doing more dance stuff. So yeah, everybody was there.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good. Very good. Tony, what else you got for him?
Not too much, man. I just, Blaine, with your experience, how was it transitioning from college to elite for you with the coaches?
Um, you know what? I will say this. I have been very blessed to have had a limited amount of coaches. Like I didn't gym hop or to bounce around. I went from Dennis McIntyre at CGA, um, and then I went to Ohio State with Miles and Pete, and Mike Raccanelli did some coaching there too. And then I went with Vitaly and Ron out in Colorado Springs, and then I was back to Miles. So it was I'm very blessed to only have like 5 or 6 different coaches. So I think that was good for me to have a solid base. But I think the bigger picture was there during national team camps or during any other camps, you get different perspectives. So you pick up stuff from all kinds of different coaches, and truthfully, in the end, there's probably 50 different coaches that help round my gymnastics into what it became. So
That's cool. That's cool. Hey, I got something to show you too. Here, I have this in my office every day. Can you see that?
yes, I can.
I went to that Olympic Games, and as a kid, it was like it put it on the map for me. Like that is what I want to do. Like that, and I put it in my office every day because I can reflect back on it and the impacts that we make on the grassroots program and the kids, and we inspire the young to kind of shape into the future and what they're going to do. Talk a little bit about your upbringing and where you set your sights. What moment gave that to you, and then how you look back on it now, full circle.
My parents, I, I I love my parents. They were hard on me, and that's the way it should have been. Catholic boy, born and raised. But yeah, I mean, the traditional values, and you got to pay attention to this and do that. And they never let me shy away of any opportunities. And when I failed, they would tell me why I failed, and you need to do better, and this is what you need to do. It's I don't know. They helped me get like a kind of a tunnel vision, because that's all I wanted to do was succeed. And if you don't fail at whatever you're doing, if you don't fail, then you'll never figure out how to succeed. And that's the biggest thing I tell the girls that I coach. I know I'm on the dark side. I don't coach boys, but I do. I tell them, hey, in the end, yeah, you messed up the meet, but now you know what you need to do at the next meet in order not to make that mistake. And the one thing I tell the girls, and it's super funny, it's like, hey, in this sport, you have to have the mind of a goldfish. And they're like, huh? Listen, this goldfish has a memory of it's like the 5 seconds, and it'll swim around in this bowl, and it'll be like, oh my god, where am I? I'm in a bowl. I'm in a bowl. And then nothing. And then they're back to the same thing. I said, when you make a mistake or anything that you have to put it on the back burner, it's gone. It's done. It is what it is. Don't let it become a bigger problem. And that's a lot of what my parents taught me. And moving forward, I took that into gymnastics. It was like, hey, even in the middle of a meet, if you fall, somebody else could be falling 2 times more than you're falling. And that's the kind of mentality that that I took into it. The one thing I will say is I was very superstitious though. That's I had my own little things that I always did, and I did them for every single meet. So yeah, that's one thing. My son, who's God bless him, he's 14, he's a level 9. He doesn't have those superstitions, but he's a very analytical gymnast, which I wasn't, which drives me bonkers.
Hey, was one of your superstitions chewing gum?
That happened later, like yeah, I started when I got to Colorado Springs, it was into the 98, 99. I was like, I just needed I need something to take my mind off of what I'm doing because you get so focused, so hyper focused sometimes. And I was like, yeah, chewing gum. I wouldn't recommend that to any kid flipping while chewing gum. But I know a lot of top athletes actually chew gum, and I'm not sure. I don't know what the I don't know how to do a study on it, but I know a lot of them chew gum. So maybe it's a good thing. But I wouldn't recommend it to kids who flip around. So
I remember seeing that as a kid, and I was like, "See, mom, dad, he does it."
yeah, sitting there in an L on rings chewing gum.
Chewing.
Yep, yep. So did you have a moment in your career where you're like, you knew that you wanted to be an Olympian, or you knew you wanted to go to the NCAA, or something pivotal?
Um, you know, I remember I watched a lot of the Olympic Games when I was younger. I did have aspirations, but everybody was like, it has to be a realistic goal. You have to put in the work. And I think for me, um, I ended up practicing 2 times, like a morning practice and an afternoon practice, starting my junior and senior year in high school. But truthfully, the minute that I was like, I want to go to the Olympic Games, and Johnny hates me telling this story, but I was watching NCAA's and I think it was NCAA's, and he got super, super mad and threw a chair. And I was like, that's my guy. I need that intensity. And, I think it was like, was it 92? I think it might have been a little after that. All I know is I was a freshman or sophomore in high school because he's 4 years, 4 years older than I am. And I was like, dude, he's already been to the. I want to be that guy right there. And he's like, dude, why do you always tell people that? Because it was intense. It drove me. That was when I was like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be an Olympian. Not to say that, hey, John's my role model, throwing tables and chairs. It's not the thing, but just his inner desire to get the best out of himself, and I was fortunate to be on 2 Olympic teams with him. So, I got the opportunity to be on teams with my role model. But that to me was like the end all be all. It was like his intensity was what I wanted, and like his focus and his drive, man. It was there. It was huge for me.
Yeah. Yep. I think we all saw it. He was my childhood hero too. And then you were a part of that with that 96 team and inspiring a generation. So, between you guys and the passion that you put on the floor, I think in a lot of ways shaped a lot of what USA's mindset was, moving forward and the passion that we had and how proud we were to represent the flag. So, thank you for that. That was an amazing time. So
Great time. Well, here's this is I said analytical, and I'll explain because this is why I don't coach my own son, and it's hard because my wife, was, on the 96 Olympic team for rhythmic, so it's like she's like, oh, why don't you coach him? And I was like, I don't think you seem to understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he doesn't think like I do, so I can't help him. I can. I said I can teach you whatever you want to. Any skill you want to do, I can teach you. But your work ethic is not as fast as mine, and it's a day and age generational thing. Because the girls that I coach right now, it's like, ladies, I need you to take more turns. You gotta kind of hustle them up. Where before we were throwing on our grips and jumping in front of people, taking other turns, and I'm like, where's that tenacity? Where's the drive? And I once again, I'll say it, it's just day and age. And it's like, Jackson, get up on the equipment. You're driving me insane. I'm sitting there coaching the girls and I'm right by high bar or rings or P bars. I'm like, dude, you're taking one turn in 6 minutes. What? So once you stay on him, then he takes more turns. He's more talented than I was at his age. So it's funny to watch, but at the same time, I'm like, you could be doing so much more, son.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I see him on Instagram. He's got a couple things going on Instagram where he gets little sponsorships and things like that. So
Yeah, I was like, dude, what? That wasn't even a thing when I was younger.
yeah.
So,
Yep.
but yeah, I'm super proud of him though. He is a competitor. He knows how to compete. He gets it done like that. So, and I said, well, you get that honestly because you know what? Everybody thought that I was like didn't work as hard as John Roethlisberger. You had to practice. You had to practice in order to get any better. But we just he gets it honestly. I love to be in the competition. I love to be in the fight. It's like a dog fight. Hey, let's compete. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out who's better.
Yeah.
And there was just a bunch of times where people were like, well, we're just happy to compete. No, no, no. If you're gonna do that, go sit in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't believe that you have the opportunity to win any meet that you step like any competition, then go get some popcorn and watch the show. Like that's all I can say about it.
Yeah. That was so obvious about you. It was so obvious. You were you had that
I
look in your eye. You raised your hand. You're like, oh gosh, look out.
I loved it. I loved to be in that atmosphere. It's funny as I got, I retired in what, 05, 04 or 05, somewhere like in that area. And then I got bored and I came back. So I competed under the new code in 08 and I ended up making the team, and ended up going to Canada. We competed there, and then it was funny. I got to the '08 USA Championships, and I missed my first event. I was not mad, and I was like, oh no, something's wrong here. And then I missed the second. I missed the second event, floor. I literally picked up my phone, and my dad is like, "Why are you calling me from the floor?" He's like, "Why do you even have your cell phone on the floor?" I said, "Listen, Dad, I'm 34. I've had enough. Let's go." So that was it. I picked up my bag, walked off the floor. That was it. Done.
Wow. Really? That's funny.
So yeah, I mean, I knew it. I knew it. And when I didn't get mad, it was like,
Yeah.
uh-oh. Uh-oh. So,
Yep. Yep. Everyone's got their I know it moment, huh?
yeah, I mean, after you retire, you try to come back and you're like, I don't think this is a good idea. And the one thing that I do realize during that time is I domed myself on a Thomas in practice, and I quit practice. I mean, I was 34 at the time, and I'm like, I could really get hurt doing this sport, and that was it. That was it. That was all it took. I was like, okay, I'm done. Like when I was at championships, like that's cool. I'm good. I'm good.
These athletes don't know what it's like to dome yourself on a Thomas.
No, no more, no more, no more rollouts.
Oh man. Hey Tony, we got one of the two in the waiting room. Should I let
Yeah.
him in?
Let him in. The other one is trying to call in.
Okay.
So
Sounds good. All right, Blaine, we got one person coming in here.
Cool.
Nope. And we got the other one calling in. No video on the other one.
It's all right. I was having my problems. They must not be current athletes because they know how to work the system.
Yeah.
They must be older people like me
Older
who are
people
like,
like you.
what do you do with this thing?
All right, so can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. So we got Peter and Dennis on here. Peter Corman, Dennis McIntyre.
Hello,
Guy,
fellas.
Dennis, you got to unmute yourself. In the bottom left-hand corner, if you're on a computer, it has a mute button. Or on your phone, if you click your screen, it'll say mute or unmute.
oh, there we go.
There he is. And then Dennis, if you click the video button, you can actually, if you want to be seen, it'll actually show you as well. No, Dennis McIntyre is connecting to audio. Connected. And he's muted again.
Chasing your tail there, Dennis.
So yeah, Peter, thanks for coming on the call. Blaine's here. I'm not sure if you heard him, and then John Robinson, myself, and Dennis. We had some fun stories that Blaine shared. Wanted to see if you have any fun stories to share about Blaine with your experience with him. I know you said he wasn't the easiest to coach last time we talked.
Yeah, well, you know, it depends on the scale. Now Blaine was great to coach. He had the quality of a lot of great gymnasts that I've had the opportunity to know, and that is that Blaine was never satisfied. He always wanted to be better. And I've seen this in Olympic champions. I've seen it in great guys. It doesn't matter what generation of gymnasts. They all have that. The special guys all have that thing where they're never satisfied with what they're doing, even when what they're doing is really good. And Blaine had that. And yeah, it could be frustrating at times because of that. And I think it's an admirable quality, and it's a necessary quality for a guy who accomplished what Blaine did. And I'll give you a couple of examples. When Blaine came to Ohio State, we had a okay team, and we were trying to win the national championship, and we were getting close. We were third a couple times, we were second, but we couldn't quite do it. In 1996, we had the nationals at Stanford, and in their gym, they had a really good team. Cal was good, Nebraska, everybody was good. And we finished the meet on P-bars. That was our last rotation. And we had a mistake on P-bars. A guy missed, and Blaine was last up. So he would be the last performer for the team. And as everybody was looking at the scoreboard, it was pretty apparent. If Blaine hit, we would win the meet. If Blaine didn't hit, we would be second or third again. And I looked at Blaine, and he looked back at me, and I'm like, he's going to hit. And he did a rock solid routine, nailed everything, and we won the meet, and we were national champions. And I remember thinking at that time, that's a lot of pressure. I mean, it's a lot of pressure to be in the Olympic trials. It's a lot of pressure to be in a meet like the Olympics. But when you, just by circumstance, as it turned out, when you're the last guy to go in a team meet, and if you hit, your team wins. If you miss, your team doesn't win. And these are guys that you spend 4 or 5 hours with every day, you live with, you hang out with, you travel with. That's a huge amount of pressure. And Blaine went out and rocked it. And I said to myself, well, Blaine's got Olympic trials coming up in the Olympics, but I doubt there'll be any more pressure than that. Because letting yourself down is one thing. Letting down all the guys you live with and work out with, that's a different animal. And Blaine rose up. When we got to the Olympics, we had the coaches, all of the coaches had the assignment of doing a lineup. And it's tricky because we had a lot of good guys. John Roethlisberger, Mihai Baju, Jair Lynch, a lot of Cheney Humphrey, Kip Simons was on the team, and Blaine. A lot of good guys, and a lot of guys who could make finals. However, where they went in the lineup was a big deal because it partly determined their score. And you want to be fair to all the guys and give them a chance to make finals and win a medal, but you also want to do what's best for the team. So it's a little tricky to keep everybody happy and also do what's best for the country. Blaine came to me in the process of that and said to me, Pete, I want to go first up on every event, compulsory and optional. And I'm like, well, Blaine, that's not going to happen because I can't put you first up on rings because you're our best guy by far, and that would be really stupid. And that wouldn't be good for the country or for you or anyone else involved. But I appreciate what you're saying. And in Blaine's heart, he said, I'm going to hit every routine. And if I go first up, I'll get us started. And I don't mind if I get a 10 for 2 lower. I'll be helping the team. And I'm like, okay, well, you don't get to do the lineup, but I'll keep that in mind. And we did it as coaches. We put Blaine up first on a bunch of events that he wasn't the worst guy. He was sacrificed to some extent, and it did help the team because Blaine hit everything. And I knew he would. He was rocking at that time, and he was willing to do that. Not a lot of guys would do that. And Blaine was the ultimate team guy when it came to that. And it was just a very special thing. And, so, yeah, Blaine could be tricky to coach. He every now and then he got, upset. Remember Dennis?
Dennis is still muted.
He's still muted.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, Blaine remembers. And,
yeah.
Every now and then I would have to ask Blaine to leave the gym and, think about what we're doing and take the rest of the day off. If I added all those days off and didn't do that, he probably would have been Olympic all-around champion. But yeah, it is what it is.
Pete was great. Pete could literally sell a ketchup popsicle to a man in white gloves. That guy would wake up, he'd get up and he'd come to us, guys, I had a dream last night that we're gonna win the Olympic Games. Or guys, I dreamt that we won NCAAs today. So let's get it done. He had an uncanny knack for getting guys to always be at the top of their game, at the best. Like what, as he said to us before numerous times, you're going to compete with that American flag tattooed on your heart. And it's like just things like that. You're like, man, I'll jump in front of a bus for this dude. Let's go. So.
Yeah, whatever.
Man, those are such great stories. That's awesome. Hey, Blaine, what was that like, that pressure of that 96 NCAA title? And you're like, I got to hit this set.
Like I just looked at Pete and Pete looks at me and it was just like, hey, let's go. And I was like, it's either hit or miss. And at the time, when I landed P-bars, I remember kind of saluting the judge, but I was like, I don't know if that's enough. And sure enough, it was enough. I was like, holy crap. I mean, we won by a very small margin, but I wasn't sure how close it was going to be.
That's awesome. Hey, Dennis is here and he's unmuted and we got a visual on him. He is here.
Yes.
Dennis.
I finally switched devices. The one was just good. Good to see you.
Good to see you,
Congratulations.
Dennis.
Thanks for joining us, Dennis. You got any stories about Blaine?
No, none at all.
What do you got? Any good ones? You
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback a little bit on what Corman was saying. A challenge at times, but mainly because of the passion. He'd get really passionate about what he was doing, and if it didn't go exactly the way he wanted it to go, then that wasn't good enough, and that made it a little bit fun. Sometimes he has the distinction of being asked to remove himself from the gym more than any of my other athletes. But at the same time, after we finished a season and he might have needed a break, you'd say, okay, take a few days off. You need some time. And it'd be like, yeah, I do. And then I'd unlock the door and he'd walk in next workout. So couldn't stay away. So that was always fun. You knew that passion was going to be there, and you knew he was going to, do everything he could to make it happen. And the other thing that I remember, he was all about the team. And every time we'd go to a team event, he'd be, let's do the team. And we came to finals or whatever, and he'd be on 3 or 4 events. He goes, I don't want to do finals. One of my teammates is in the next position. Why don't I drop out so he can go? Because the team was the more important thing to him. So that's what stands out in my mind was, how passionate he was about the sport, how passionate he was about doing well, and how passionate he was about his team and the success of his teammates. And another funny one to me, or kind of an example, he and Drew Durbin and a guy named Chris Howard were all went to the same high school. So they competed high school championships. And Chris was a year ahead of Blaine and Drew. So they were 3-up, 3 count, and won a couple of
Dennis, Dave Eckert.
Dave Eckert. Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, they won team championships, but the last year, the last guy wasn't there, so they went out and recruited a kid who had never done gymnastics before, so they could have a 3-man team. And
Mike Ramsey.
Yeah, and they beat on that kid for about 7 or 8 months to get him into the shape where he could do some routines. And the funny thing is it came down to him at the state championships. He had to hit a P-bar routine, which was a challenge for him. And when he hit the ground, it was maybe 1 or 2 tenths enough.
Yep. And yeah, we won.
That's right. So it was a great experience for him. They were all over the kid, and they made his high school, time. So it was fun.
That is a wild story. You took a kid who wasn't in the sport?
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Michael Ramsey. And I remember Dennis was like, this is crazy. I was like, we just need to make sure that he can do basic stuff. He's like, okay. So we beat the tar out of him for about 8 months. We started with like 3 different guys. Casey Martin and Greg Grissett were also part of it, but they were like, nope, heck no, we're done. And Ramsey was like, wait, so if I compete, I win a state championship? And I was like, yeah, dude, you just got to get through 6 routines. That's it. He's like, done. It was awesome.
Man, shout out to Michael Ramsey if he's out there.
It was a great experiment for sure.
Yeah,
We'll have to tag him.
it was fun. It was 5 gymnastics.
That's so good. Hey, Dennis, Peter, do you guys have any more stories for us?
I got one more story.
Oh yeah, let's go.
We were in Atlanta at the Olympic Games, and Blaine made ring finals. And it was hard. Ring finals, they had Kecky was there and Sherbo, really good guys. And Blaine made finals. And we were at the finals on the podium waiting for Blaine to go. And there was a long delay, really long. It was like more than 5 minutes, which is a long time to stand there. You know, I forget who was up before Blaine, but whoever
No,
it
I was first. I
You
was
were
first.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you were first. I remember that now. But we got up, we were standing on the podium, and it took forever to get everyone ready to go. And I don't know if it was TV or it was, yeah, whatever. And we're just waiting and waiting and waiting. And I'm looking at Blaine, and he looked a little nervous. You know, it's Olympic finals. It was in Atlanta. And, you know, there's a ton of people there. It was in the, what is it called? The Astrodome or
Georgia
something
Dome.
like that. And yeah. And the place was packed. And I'm looking at Blaine, and I'm waiting and waiting. And I'm hoping he's not getting too nervous. And then Blaine turns around and says, "Pete, that's Jerry Seinfeld." And I looked over, and sitting right in front of us was Jerry Seinfeld. And he was watching the meet. And that's all Blaine was concerned about. And I said, "That's good. Don't think about anything else. Just think about Jerry Seinfeld." And Blaine went out and rocked his routine, and it was great. But it made me laugh. I'm nervous, but Blaine was like, "Look at Seinfeld. He's sitting right there."
That's hilarious. That's so funny. You remember that Blaine, huh?
Oh yeah, he was doing YMCA.
Oh man.
It was a TV delay and it was taking forever, and I was like, "Hey, it's Jerry Seinfeld."
That is wild. That's wild. Well, hey guys, I'm gonna put a bow on this, but before we hop off here, Blaine, you are no stranger to Hall of Fames. You're in the USA Gymnastics Hall of Fame, the International Sports Hall of Fame. And so one of our projects this year with the College Gymnastics Association is we're creating a NCAA Hall of Fame, essentially. So the College Gymnastics Hall of Fame. And so this is our inaugural class, and we're proud to invite you into our inaugural class here. You are basically a part of the who's who of NCAA men's gymnastics, the Mount Rushmore, the greatest of the greats. And so this is our inaugural class, and congratulations. You are definitely, from hearing their stories, you sum up NCAA men's gymnastics to a T. You're a team guy, a competitor, someone who lives and breathes it. We're really proud of you and inspired a generation. So
I'm honored. Thank you. I think Roethlisberger is in, isn't he?
he is. Yep.
So I get to get in with my idol. That's fantastic. And I think the one thing that I would like to say is that without Dennis molding me as as a young kid and getting the best out of me, and then moving on to Ohio State, and Pete, continuing to help me grow, I wouldn't have gotten where I was at. And honestly, I think that both of them know that my parents had a huge part in what happened between ear to ear. So I can't thank them enough.
Yeah, we thought it was real important to have Dennis and Peter on here. It's not just one person, right? It takes a village to kind of get a career to happen, and it takes all the stars to align. And so Dennis, Peter, you guys were a huge part of it, as Blaine said. Like, this is a special moment. And congratulations to you two too, as well, for your part in making this happen.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'll just say one more thing. when I would kick Blaine out of the gym for the day because of his attitude, I would say to him, meet me in my office tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We'll talk about it. And if everything's good, you'll be back at practice. But that night I would call his father, who was my best friend, Bill. And I would say, Billy, talk to your kid. He's doing it again. Straighten him out. And let's get him back in there. And so when Blaine came in, he was like, yeah, I talked to Bill last night. I get it.
Well, Dennis said the same thing. Him and Bill, they were close, and it was the same thing. When I got tossed, he's like, "I'm calling your dad." Like, no.
So you got to hear from it at the dinner table too.
Oh, dude. I think my mom might have been worse.
Yeah. Yes. The lovely Joan.
Yep.
Oh man, that's great. Well, hey guys, we have the Hall of Fame banquet at NCAA Championships this year. It's going to be April 20th, 11 to 2 p.m. at the Fawcett Center. And so that's the day of NCAA team and individual finals. And so we'd love to have you guys out there. It'd be a phenomenal experience. But so that way we can kind of show our respect, celebrate, your careers and your impact on the community, and put you in the inaugural class with the rest of the greats of NCAA men's gymnastics. So.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you very much. I'm honored.
Great. Well, guys, we appreciate you guys joining us today. Hopefully that was a special opportunity for you guys, and continue to watch the videos because we're going to celebrate more people, and you're going to be with the rest of them. So
Great. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate the opportunity, and congratulations, Blaine.
Thanks, Dennis.
yep.
All right.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks. Congratulations, Blaine.
Thanks, Pete.
Awesome. Thanks,
Okay.
guys.